A circuit which has a lot of history attached to it since 1954. A track which was the site of a former World War II airfield, which means it could be any track in the United Kingdom. This one, though, here in Norfolk, is where our battling starts for the second half of the season. It is Snetterton, and it is one of the tougher challenges that these drivers will find, not by the fact they've got elevation changes, but by the fact that this is going to be a cauldron for these drivers to battle in your Skip Barber race series this morning. Good morning to those around the world. Good afternoon and good evening wherever you are. My name is Jake Sperry. Along with me in the booth for today's action is Craig King. You got Christian Deploy in the director's chair. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But to a Snetterton circuit that has been pretty much running everything in a national sense in the United Kingdom, that puts all of the most amazing action to play. We're going to take a little look at what makes this circuit tick with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Snetterton Circuit. Like many British tracks that were born shortly after World War II, this venue was made out of an old military airfield. It's a mere 30 minutes drive from Norwich and offers up 3 different layouts of varying lengths. This means the track is easily able to host international, regional, and club-level racing. Previously rather simple, the circuit's most recent update in 2011 introduced a twisty infield section. Still, it's mainly punctuated by 2 very long straights, the Senna Straight, where the pits are located, and the Bentley Straight, which acts as the backstretch. As you'd expect for a track born out of an airfield, there's little in the way of elevation change. However, the one spot in which you do find some undulation, it really stands out. The bomb hole dips cars down in the middle of a quick right-hand kink, causing them to have to keep a heads up lest they lose the car. The track is not without character though. Rich's is very swift for a first turn and includes 2 distinct apexes. There's also the combination of Brundle and Nelson, which forces drivers to turn hard while braking. Never an easy combination to manage. The long sweeping run through Coram down into Murray's can also be quite tricky. The car will want to drift out, forcing a shallow entry into the final left-hander. But failing to give yourself a good exit will leave you vulnerable to attack down the pit straight. Perhaps not as famous as some other British circuits, this place is a bit of a hidden gem in the UK motorsport scene. Fans who get to witness racing here certainly seem likely to return.
There is a track like Snetterton pretty much in every place that you race, but when you get to this circuit and you understand what makes this circuit go, it has high-speed sections, but it has all of the tools of the trade, so to speak, Craig, that get this circuit working drivers' brains. I think it's really important for the characteristics of building drivers to go and race at this track.
Yeah, we're using the 300 layout today, not the 200 layout, so we get that fantastic infield, which I love because a lot of series, they miss that infield. Because you've got those high-speed straights down the Senna Straight, you've got the Bentley Straight, but then you add the elevation change coming into Palmer at 6 and down to Ignoski. That whole infield section would just really test out the drivers who are more confident to get on the speed and keep that speed up for those corners. So that's going to be an interesting section when it comes to later in the race, because we know it's going to be a lot of slipstreaming and draft around here, but the key section will be the bomb hole, because we do know that actually takes away from a sweeping right-hander and just makes the drivers realize there is a brake pedal in the car.
Yeah, and these drivers will all be alert to finding themselves on the brakes, because corners like Brundle into Nelson requires the trail brake to be at its finest and its most calibrated here at Snetterton. So we will get a chance to see how that goes over this just a smidge under 3-mile circuit out there on track. Let's, though, for the first time this season, talk championship standings here in this, because we have worked out our championship standings for the first half of the season. 2 drop rounds have been applied to these points at the moment, and Benny Simonson, with 2 wins and 2 second places, finds himself up at the top, 134 championship points. Along with him, back in second and third, a tie between Augusto Lovisolo and Sam Devontier, with Daniel Daniel Atuga in 4th, and Neil Gardner, who is the only driver in this entire field to not miss around this season, he currently finds himself in 5th. It's then Dennis Johansson, Enzo Cantor, and Jose Luis Maya, who puts himself in 8th position overall. Really close championship with Brian Kelly in 9th, and Adam Tompkins, after his win last time out, Craig, moves himself up into the top 10, working on a part-time schedule for this season. So this is going to be a case of, I think, a game of who turns up for every round, which puts Neil Gardner, I think, in a really good position in this championship.
Yeah, you've got to ignore the fact he's had his drop weeks put out. He's the only driver with 2 drop weeks factored in. Could be very interesting to see what he does, because 36 points, that's a win and a podium basically there. Anything can happen. Some of these drivers at the front, they won't be able to do the whole season just due to other commitments. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do as we see one of those iconic bushes in the stand. Kind of looks like the iRacing logo, but reminder, that's got nothing to do with the iRacing logo.
And of course, that tree as well is also remembered in memorial here at Snetterton. It's not actually there anymore when you go, because it was taken down about 3 or 4 years ago by some very, very heavy winds one night at Snetterton. So that is something that you love there to see. Almost the iRacing, hello, yes, we win, out there on the circuit. But for these drivers, they know that this is the second half of the season. Just the 11 laps to deal with today at the Snetterton circuit, but crucially, it's open setups and they've got a spare car to use. So if they do get caught up, which it is very easy to do here at Snetterton, to run over on what is a very narrow circuit here around this track, they do have a spare car to jump into the pits, jump back in the spare car, and run back out racing again. Standing start in this series, but crucially, old school incident limits, disqualification at 17. There is no leniency about it.
No, and you will probably see drivers test that today, as there is still fantastic tracking. You can just make out some of the old aspects of an airfield just there around the track. But it's nice to see how that off-track limit will be tested by some of the drivers, because there's a lot of runoff on the exit apexes on some of these corners. But then that will test if you want to put too much throttle down early, and that could cause a lot of issues. But also some drivers from some of these sweeping corners losing the rear of the car today. So that's another one we've got to keep an eye on for.
Not often that you see car number 2 on Benny Simonson, the championship leader, as he runs through the bottom of the infield at Agostini corner, looking towards Hamilton, the left-hander, and then Oggies, which will be the very difficult right-hander out there on track. Adam Miles with the highest iRating in this field by 100 iRating over the top of Benny Simonson. So there is going to be, for this race, a case of what Adam Miles can do, what a driver like Benny Simonson can do, leading the championship and looking to extend that margin up at the top. But there are some incredibly strong names here today that will look to try and pick up points. I look at Devontier, I look at Mayer, I look as well at Augusto Lovisolo as drivers who can really make this happen. This is Simonson's first flying lap, and look at how hard he has to work the car through Brundle and there into Nelson's corner.
Yeah, you really want to try and make that work hard, because you could see some side-by-side when desperation hits later in the race. Comes around now, and this is the bomb hole. Not because there was a bomb gone off, but because it was a little bit of a mistake when building was made. They wanted to have a little bit of something different round Coram, in hard into Murray. That's a tight corner, and the raised curves are going to cause a lot of issues for some of those drivers, because you can't get the optimal exit there, because you kind of want to cut that corner. It's like a rally pace note there. Don't cut. But Benny, he has made a cut. It's a nice cut to the top of the lead.
Oh, and by a second, he goes up there against Joachim Oshbeck. That is a wonderful time. And only 0.02 of a second back, Cesar Best, who had himself a wonderful pass over at Brands Hatch last time out, has now put himself on the front row. Lovisolo's up to 3rd. Sam Devontier goes 4th fastest on a 7 flat, but they do have these second laps to try and deal with. Track temperature here today, middle of the day here in Norfolk, but crucially 29 degrees track temperature. So it looks like there is going to be a bit of work to do to move on by. But Adam Miles, car number 1, comes to the line and sets a 2:06.6. So goes 4th fastest. Jose Luis Maya, now your quickest on a 6.4.
Top 4 separated by a 10th. Look at the timing tower and the gap between the top 4. All to play for, and the number 4 car really coming out today and just going, I am here, I am ready to fight. And you look at the talent of all those drivers in the top 4. Cesar Best is the lowest iRacing driver, which usually when you look at a 5,000 iRacing driver, Jay, you think, good driver. But he's against 2 9K drivers and this 8K driver, the number 4 Mella, as he comes by once again into this section. May have clipped the tires on the grass there, not so sure. May be a tough lap here.
The Mayor of Quicksville is in office today and looking through Williams' corner to try and get as much out of the track as possible, using all of the runoff available and moving over to the right-hand side of the Bentley straight, trying to keep the wheel as straight as possible on this run, the path of least resistance, any minimal amount of turning is possible. You can see those tiny oscillations over the bumps though, and having, look at that, actually turning into the corner, but more counter steering through Brundle. It just shows you how much work you can do with the brake to gain that run as Lovisolo improves. Benny Simonson, a 6 flat on that qualifying lap time, shatters the top of the timing stands. Best goes second on a 6.2, but Mayer now needs this final corner to be absolutely perfect, Craig.
I don't think he's got it. There was a bit of a slide there. We say sliding's good in these cars. I don't think he wants it in that moment. He looks fast, though. This could be good. Is he going to be fast enough? He'll come across the line. I'll tell you what, it was not enough. He can't even outdo Cesar Best. This is the last man. We're looking at Adam Miles. He's got to run to the line. Haven't seen what his lap's been like, but maybe got a chance to just go up a few places here. Half a second behind Benny there with a fantastic time. He can only improve once. That just goes to show the pace that Benny's put out there today.
Yeah, and out late is Jorge Camps, but it's going to be out of time. It's a hard cut here today of 8 minutes to get the qualifying time in. Yannick Morales just crossed the line late and goes 13th fastest with that effort. So that will be qualifying wrapped up in the books in a 23-car field. It's a huge field here today for Snetterton, and the field will stack up as follows. Benny Simonson has got himself on the pole position, and it's Cesar Best who's alongside for company on that front row. Jose Luis Maya goes from third, with Adam Miles making his first start of the season in position number 4. Then it's your 2 drivers, second and third in the championship, tied on points, sharing the third row. Augusto Lovisolo and Sam Devontier. Neil Gardner will line up 7th, with Joachim Oshbeck rounding out the top 8. Marcos Fernandez will go from 9th position, with Jesus Cabal rounding out your top 10.
We get to page 2. Peter Sapanki will be 11th, with Berto Otero in 12th. Then Yannick Morale 13th, with Peter van der Noord in 14th. Brendan McDonough will be 15th, with Chris Bassett in 16th. And then John Peffick will take 17th, with Andy Bouchin in 18th. Nathan Verdi will be 19th, and Mai Hiratari, will be 20th. Just 3 more drivers, with Rafael Rogers in 21st. The last at the time qualifiers were Jose Hina and Jorge Camps, as we just saw, non-time qualifiers for today's race.
Yep, so there's a lot of work to do from the back of the field. You look around the likes of Mai Hiratari, you look at Jose Pina and Jorge Camps. They will be drivers along with Rafael Rogers, who will be trying to capitalize on as many places as possible going up through the field. You look towards the middle of the pack, drivers like Suapanki, Otero and von der Noord. I think that those drivers will be looking to try and just keep themselves out of trouble early, but the front, I think, is going to be where it is most interesting here today, and I expect a lot of slipstreaming into turn 1 and the likes as they go on and start this race of going to 9 and 10. But Benny Simonson leads this field away. Cesar Best gets himself a good launch alongside. Mayer falls into line, and they all fall into line, going all the way back to Jesus Cabal and Peter Suapanki through the opening corner of Riches here along the centre straight. Now over towards Wilson at turn 2. Best on the outside, and Simonson just about defending the run through on the outside. Lovisolo immediately looking to make some moves, and now over to turn 3. We will go side by side. Big contact in the back though.
Yeah, Osbeck had a moment. He had a spin, and I believe he caught Brendan McDonough as he tried to go around and catch him. Unfortunately, nothing he could do. We'll probably look at that. Peter van der Noord is well caught up by that. There looks like 3 cars caught, but in front, Rasmussen having to defend here, coming around Agosny, gets it done against Cesar Best. We know what Cesar can do. We saw him last week with some fantastic moves. Probably a little bit early to see that at the moment, but this next corner, Oggies, you can always see a late move.
You always can. It's a very, very jutting corner. It's different to every other corner on the circuit. It's a long, delayed run out to the exit here, but this is what you're trying to prioritise. Williams corner, because you get the run here and the slipstream becomes important. 7 cars clear then at the front. Neil Gardner, the 7th of them, but Simonson here on the left-hand side. Here comes Cesar Best, moving to the inside. Adam Miles looking to move up on Jose Luis Meyer as well. Through the left and right, Simonson's got the inside, but it switches back to the outside for the next 3 corners. Out of Nelson, the Admiral's corner, and now through to the bomb hole. This is where Cesar Best has got to be very careful, but on that outside, Simonson has to try and fall back into line, because if he can't, well, Mayer's going to try and snipe that place away. Through Coram corner, trying to pick it up, and just the smallest amount of room given. Mayer stuck on the outside, can't get the line.
No, and he almost actually got too far over there and couldn't turn in time. And Miles just decided for a split second, I might want to go at that as they come through Murray's, but decided against it. So they're all back together, just the top 2, the only in the top 7 that have changed positions. Want to give a shout out to John Pethick. 7 places made up on that first lap. What a start it was for him as Chris Bassett comes into the pit to take his repairs. And hello, one moment, Miller with a little bit of a slide. Is that going to open up the corner for Miles? Hardings with a brace goes Jose. Not a lot he could do. It could be 1 position lost it is. It might be 2, but he's on the inside as they come to Palmer.
Yep, so turn 3 there. Mayer just losing the run and finding the freight train. Gets to the inside at Palmer corner. Very easy to overshoot here. It's slightly off camber through turn 3. Now getting this small flick over to the right before Agostini, turn number 4. The launch down the inside by Augusto Lovesolo is there and trying to get 2 bites of the cherry for his Skip Barber to turn. Manages it and gets the pass, so moves up to 4th in an all-important move. But new race leader Cesar Best now looks at this and thinks about what Benny Simonson can do now in second behind. And remember, we've talked about this so much. It's the thinking driver's race. You've got to be right place, right time, and it gives you the right opportunities to go and make things happen.
Welcome to the game of chess, iRacing edition. It'll be interesting to see what Benny would look to try and do as we go on the nose here and he gets a good run. But just wait to see if he lifts off. He does, and that is what he's looking at. He realizes last time they went side by side through this complex at Brundle and Nelson. Decides against it this time. Everyone just stacks up, and I think this is what he wants. He wants the pack. He wants to work with the pack, and he wants the pack to create moments. As we go to the replay, this was Osbeck early on. Just a little bit, probably too tight there. Left the 13, no room, it felt like. That was Marcos Fernandez. Fernandez had to go somewhere, and it's not on the curb. And then the massive pile-up on the exit there of Wilson.
I believe that was the locked-on iRacing car there of Nathan Verney, who was able to stay out of the way. They've got a fantastic podcast as and when they did it back in the day. So got to give a lot of credit to Nathan Verney for avoiding that sort of incident out there on circuit. But lap 3, they now start. And there is Benny Simonson with the fastest lap of the race. And we expect it to get quicker and quicker. Adam Miles, who has quietly worked the pace up, finds himself there. Now the launch off of Riches, trying to think about the inside here. And Wilson not going to get there, and look at how they bottleneck up again. It's going to be a waiting game here, I think, in this, and I think these drivers, the moment they start battling, that next group's going to want to try and get there. 3 seconds off the back, Yannick Morale and Jesus Cabal, the Morale-Cabal connection, looking to try and chase up.
You've got 7 cars in a line, and if you look at the average iRating between these 7 cars, it's probably over 7,000 iRating. This is some of the best in these cars. And you look at Lobby Solo, the driver that always comes with a surprise hit because he just loves to get into the pack and wait for the opportunity, and he has done that so many times this series, and now he's probably just going to hope that these 3 in front have a little bit of a battle later on, because he's definitely looking for a podium out there today as we get right on board with him one more time. Through Williams he goes, gets a nice launch, probably a bit too tight, gets a nice run. Did see a little bit of a slide there, and I think if he doesn't see the leaders go side by side, I don't think he's going to go side by side with Miles. I'm going to eat my hat, I'm wrong.
Yep, so now they pull together as they duel down the straight, and Lovisolo gets his run. So Adam Miles lets him have it and then falls back to place. But Mayer thinking about the inside, back in 5th position. He's someone who loves racing from the front, is Jose Luis Mayer, but he's got Sam Devontier with him, who is a driver who loves waiting for the right time to strike. So two very different characters in 4th and 5th. Cesar Best still leading. Outer Coram corner then, this long forever corner that has that jutting final left-hand bend of Murray's, which ends out the lap, and then the charge along the Ayrton Senna straight to go and get this launch slightly uphill, this drag towards turn 1, which, believe it or not, is the highest section of the circuit. Simonson tried to go for the inside, but there was no gap there to try and make it work. It shows you that drivers are now starting to search for wherever a move can be made. Slide by Simonson. Lovisolo, who got the fast lap, gets a run. Miles heavily backs out of it heading in towards turn 2 at Wilson. He had a monster run.
He had a fantastic run. So did Lovisolo for a moment there, but he had to pull out of it, and that just started that concertina effect. And unfortunately, nothing happened there. Well, fortunately, nothing happened in terms of damage, because that could have been a lost nose by some of these drivers. They've been battling so close. You could have put a blanket over all of them, and they all would have fit in the bed as well. But right now, they're now just holding fort, holding position. But you can see that Simonson, Benny, he's really starting to push here, trying to find opportunity, trying to put Caesar under pressure. Well, that's the best way to go. They've still got a decent number of laps to go. It's still early days. But you kind of want to put that pressure on early just to cause the mistake.
Well, Benny Simonson's a driver who will know this place better than most other drivers. He's driven this place for over 2 decades when it's come to racing action in the likes of the British GT series and in the entire British GT racing scene that has been out there and has been so influential in his Scuderia Ferrari. But as he moves to the inside, Benny Simonson will look and get this one without any dramas at all. Cesar Best lets him have it, and the move then made on lap 4. They just trading about at the front because it's easier to play the game with 2 at the front than having a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th driver all pushing in. Peter Suapanki and spin in front. That's going to be huge dramas there for Berto Otero, who goes sliding about through Brundle and will drop 3 places. Marcos Fernandez now jumps onto the back, looking at Suapanki and John Pethick.
And that's a mistake that you were probably talking about here for the front of the field, but that's what happened in the mid-pack of the field, and that's such a tough corner to get right that chicane, and that's what's happened there. But now we see Lovisolo having to defend the inside against Adam Miles. He has a really good run, but this is going to be tough around Riches to go around the outside. He doesn't. Devontier takes the fastest lap, and the over-under does not work for Adam, because once again, Augusto goes on the defense. Keep an eye out that number 4. He could be looking for a hole. Definitely a hole there. Real smart there from Mella. He's really held that on, but that side-by-side is still there. And Adam Miles has said, not so fast.
Mayer on the outside, almost tires in the grass, trying to turn in at Palmer corner, turn 3, back steps out there for Augusto Lovisolo, and if they battle too much, they'll allow this group to break away. Roll hoot cam for Mayer as he looks to try and dive for the inside. Can he get the launch on Adam Miles, who gives him the room, but will get the drive off the exit here, and the toe of the car of Lovisolo in front to Hamilton corner, the fast left-hander. If you can't get clearance, and the clearance is there now for Adam Miles, you can't get the move. So made then on that pass, but again, now 7/10 to try and work back up together again. So it costs you a lap or so if you can't find the pass within 2 corners. So that's what you're seeing here. These drivers know how quick everybody is. The moment you go side by side, the moment you struggle. And look at that from Cesar Best, deciding not to take the toe on the long straight because he doesn't want to get close enough to make the move on Benny this time. Here comes Mayer, and he stamps his mayoral authority back down the inside.
Yeah, and I think Adam realized the situation, because if they kept fighting like they did through Hamilton and Oggies, they're not going to keep in this lead pack, and that's crucial. And of course, that number 3, Devontier, he does not want that either. They want to work together, and I think that's a really smart move there, to just stay together and work together, because now they're not battling. They can hold on to this group. This was Otero. We did see it. Did he just catch too much off that inside curve? He did. And a lot of the drivers have been flirting with that inside going into Brundle. But that's the first time we've seen it this race that someone's got a bit too much on that inside.
Yep, and now here comes Augusto Lovisolo. He attacks Cesar Best. He moves himself up into second, and remember how good the championship needs to be for Lovisolo. At this point, he's second in the championship right now, and he wants to try and absolutely charge forward with everything he's got. He's got a second and 2/3 in this championship so far. One drop round of 24 championship points to try and work out, which is a 7th place finish. So he is really looking to try and build on the margin that he's got right now, and his eyes are firmly set forward on Benny Simonsen. Pettik now drops back to 12th position because Marcos Fernandez is now through on him. So Marcos now getting his pass sorted and done at turn 2. Pettik now having to try and work on the back of this group.
And it was hard braking for Fernandez, but he made it stick. And will we see some hard braking later on by any of these drivers at the front as they weave on by to Oggies one more time? That's the 6th time they've come around here. And now you've just got to start to keep that focus, because you're halfway through the race. This is where a little bit of brain fog can start to come in. You realize the situation, you've got to kick and stick with the situation. Mary, though, look at that gap, almost losing Cesar Best as we're on board with him. He's got a nice view of the 2 cars in front. Behind him, he's got to be happy, because I think they may have pulled away from that slipstream.
They may have done. Remember, it's about 1 to 1.5 seconds that you feel the benefit, and they're really going to have to work to get close. But what a fantastic section of Nelson there from Jose Luis Maya. He pulls about 0.2 of a second back, and he gets the tiniest fringes of the slipstream in front, which I tell you is everything right now. Best following Lovisolo, following Simonsen out there, and Benny uses a lot more of the circuit, using up an incident point there to run that wide would Benny Simonsen do, and now that means that he's got one less to play with of his 17. We won't see how much everyone's got until the end of the race, but for the moment, Lovisolo again backing out, and this is what you see. Drivers here with 5 laps to go don't want to make the move too early, because it sets yourself up, it makes you vulnerable.
And that is where the chess game comes in, because you just want to watch out there and hope that everything works for you, and just do that, not to make the move, but to just start putting the pressure. But Simonsen, he knows, well, I don't need to worry, because Augusto is not going to send it yet. So he knows for these next 3 laps, he can kind of relax a little bit, but there's 5 to go. So he's got to start thinking, when does Lovisolo go for this? And I reckon it will be about lap 9 is when we start to see the fireworks start kicking off at the front of this field.
Raffaele Rogers in the top right corner of your screen, having a great scrap with Nathan Verney for position, +5 and +6 respectively. This for Rogers is an attempt to try and go +7 out there on track. Looking at Agostini corner, turn 4 on circuit, not quite with the angle. Verney very good through the middle of the corner then, and able to pull out about a car length through there and to run away. So that continues on. Back onto the Bentley straight they go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And actually I think the pressure's going to come from those drivers 4th, 5th and 6th who don't have time to wait. So you can see it's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all wait. But when Mayer gets back there, you know he's aggressive. You know he's going to throw it at any corner he gets a sniff at.
You know, he's been doing that. He went hard and through the car and at Wilson. He just went hard into Brundle and Nelson to try and catch up to the pack, and it's working for him. Devantier and Miles is starting to struggle there to catch up, and behind, just see it under the timing tower, the sliding that Mela is doing. Not a lot else they can do at the moment but wait. But the more he throws it in, the more he warms those tyres up, the more he slides, the more incident points he uses up. So he's got to be careful. But now Cesar is having to make sure to be on the defense, because that number 4 car, he looks twitchy, and he was just for a moment looking for a move there into riches.
Yeah, it's going to be a case from those at the back trying to go from rags to riches over at turn number 1. And Jose Luis Maya is the sort of driver who drives like a millionaire with just 10 quid in his pocket. That's how aggressive he drives out there in this race. He looks at Cesar Best. He looks at Augusto Lovisolo, the Italian stallion, and he'll look at Benny Simonsen trying to find a move. And side by side, Peter Suapanki now has to try and attack, because Marcos Fernandez has got his move done at turn 1, and that puts him into the top 10.
Yeah, and they've also got John Pettit right behind, battling them as well, as we keep eyes on these lead battles. And a good run from Lovisolo, but he can't do anything with it, and he's not going to do anything with it at this moment. But you've got to start to wonder, is he setting himself up there? Hamilton, an overtake at Hamilton is risky. You get the speed done right, you can actually force a move from the outside of Oggy. So it is one we look at as we go hoop cam once again. This number 4 is the key man in all of this. It's not like a set of dominoes right now. If he makes a move, everybody makes a move.
Yeah, he is pretty much the catalyst here, and Augusto Lovisolo pulls alongside Benny Simonson, and Benny lets him go. Lovisolo, who has been so close on multiple occasions this season to picking up a win, finds himself at the front. Now, Lovisolo here, and this is important as they start junking up closer behind, as that is going to be, again, Mayer running a little deep through the corner, which brings Miles and Devontier close, but again, pulls that gap to 0.8 of a second, not close enough through Coram. Remember, at Belle Isle, it was 2 corners away for Augusto Lovisolo before lap traffic cost him the race win.
Well, it won't be 2 corners this time, because you've got to feel that if they make a move into Murray's, good man, that is going to be a fantastic move, but it won't happen. We're looking at this, and Miles realizes the situation. Mayer, he is going a bit too hot into the corners, and he's not getting the exit, and that's why they're losing this time here. They'll catch back up, but it's lap 9 of 11. It's 3 to go. He cannot wait anymore. That number 1 car really wants to start going. They're almost going to go 3 wide for a moment as Cesar Best. He wanted to make a repeat of last week. Can't do it around here, my guy.
Well, we know that Cesar Best has one of the best overtakes in the back pocket if he wants to ever pull it out and use it. What he did against Enzo Cantor and co over at Brands Hatch is the stuff of fable, as now Simonson defends it here heading to Agostini. They are going to start having to be careful about what lines they take, because they might give Lovisolo a bit of a launch away here, and building that margin up to a couple tenths of a second. So Cesar Best has to be alert to where that move goes. Mayer is there, Miles is there, Devontier has been very quiet on the back of this group, and I think he'll try and pick up the pieces here in that 6th place, just never showing any sort of cards that he's got. A race winner this season over at round 2, Sam Devontier, on to the Bentley straight again, and now comes the case of stick or twist once more.
I don't think anyone's close enough to make some moves this time by. It will be a late move here, and maybe Benny pulled out at the last second to cause a hesitation there, and it's not caused a hesitation as he expected. In fact, Cesar almost gets into the back of him, but right away, everyone's all bunched up here, and the top 6 are separated by a second. They are right nose to tail and tail to nose. Everything is going to be going for this final lap, the penultimate lap, sorry. Everybody going to be looking for those opportunities. We're going to see a 3 wide here. That is the chaos we're seeing right now.
Well, it's about where you want to be on the final lap. Some say second's the best, some say third. But if Benny Simonson is trying to build a tiny buffer here to Lovisolo of about 0.4 of a second, he's trying to leave enough gap on that final lap to say, well, no one else is going to go through for the race lead because I'm going to time it for right at the end of the straight. Very dangerous game to play out there to leave a margin, but immediately that gap halves through turn 1 and now right up to the back as they enter turn 2. Wide goes Lovisolo, he slides contact, and Cesar Best gets into the back of Simonson there. Front left to right rear, and they hold.
They hold, and thankfully no damage to that wing of Cesar Best. He kept it together. Just that one mistake, and in fact, in the background, Devontier almost went into the back of Miles due to the fact that Miles having to check up a little bit. So they're all expecting everyone else to make moves. No one is, and that is causing a concertina effect here because everyone's just happy enough to play the position they are right now. They're all happy with the parts they've got in this production, but I don't think the director's happy. I think the director wants everyone to change places. We could see a barn burner of a finish. They've got one more corner to go before they come to the straight. That was what happened with Cesar Best.
Look at Mayer.
He made a mistake here, and Mayer has taken that P3.
He does not wait. Oggy's corner to make a move. Jose Luis Mayer doing a wonderful job there, dealing with the slide coming out then of the exit of Hamilton. Wonderfully done, but now look at it. 2 wide, almost 3 wide. Adam Miles tries to thread the needle behind as they go through. Simonson leads, but Adam Miles trying to make the move. Mayer aggressive, Best aggressive, and Mayer just leaves the room. Cesar Best is somehow still in 3rd position, but now they're leaving themselves gap. Too much time time here, Craig, because it's Simonson versus Lovisolo.
Time is slipping away. It's the most precious commodity in life, and you really need this right now. And the slide that they had through that corner, yes, you could say Miles had the best run there, but in the middle, he could not make the position. And Cesar Best, he is looking to try and pull off the best performance once again. But that gap is now 7/10. I don't think he's got it. This is going to be a race between these two at the front. It's going to be Simonson or Lovisolo. And what have you got in your back pocket, Augusto? You've only got about 5 corners to really make an overtake.
Well, we'll see how it goes as the last lap starts. Mayer defending with no tomorrow left as Adam Miles now looks to try and pivot back to the inside. Devontier can only watch as they head to Wilson Corner at turn number 2. The sun starts to poke out behind the clouds and all these drivers start thinking about this final element of this race. What do they have? Cesar Best desperately trying to pull this gap back. He's bridged the gap to half a second, and I think he's got a chance. That is Brendan McDonough in front of them. Lap traffic could still be a factor late here in this race. Lovisolo close through Agostini, but never close enough to make a move. But it's set up here. This infield is pure setup against Benny Simonson, who's leading this one from the front. Lovisolo needs a fantastic Oggie's corner here. This brilliant right-hander, and Simonson just attacks a little too deep for my liking. A half the car width, not over there, that inside curve, and suddenly Lovisolo is there at Williams corner, and now this long straight becomes the vital battleground that everyone needs. Lovisolo looking at which way he's got to go. Outside line he'll choose. Benny's going to try and hold him in the middle of the road, but look at this. What a fantastic run by Augusto Lovisolo. Cesar Best not there. The Italian stallion leads with 4 corners to go at Snetterton, and now Benny Simonson is starting to look defensive. He now knows he's got 1 chance left, and that's going to be out to Coram corner, and a massive throw down the inside at Murray's to end the lap. And at Coram, look at Benny try and pin the car down. Lovisolo, 1 corner left to defend, hits the brakes through the left, drive off the exit's going to be vital, and Augusto Lovisolo stays off the threat. It was textbook the way he got it done. A first win finally for Augusto Lovisolo. The Italian stallion wins.
With a fantastic drive from Fiss up to the line. We've still got other battles going. Otero continues on this battle. He gets past Sapani. Can he hold off Fernandez to the last corner? They almost come and touch together. Fernandez is going to get that P10. Peter was 10th at the start there, and he's lost it. Pettick is not going to hold that. Fantastic drive from everybody. Sprint to the line for the final position. Almost a coming together.
Tyre to tyre over the line. Some wonderful drag races to the end. Marcos Fernandez holding a slew of 6 behind him there as he heads over towards the line. The likes of Jorge Camps then is going to lose out a position late as Mai Huatari, she's just picked up the place and has jumped on up then into 19th position, which is a gain of 1. A lot of these drivers towards the back here, Craig, were caught up in the lap 1 incident, which really caused them a lot of trouble.
Yeah, caused them a lot of trouble, and that just actually set up a lot of this split there. But it's interesting to see how the split just basically turned into 2 groups, just all battling each other there, which is really good to see, because look at that gap from 10th all the way down to 15th, all together, just like those top 7 were.
Yeah, all there, and it looks like Jose Pina has found himself over the line now and has just about managed it at the 11th hour. We watched as the final drives go through. Great effort here from Mai as she's had to battle back through the contact and the incident. Just hold it together, 1 final corner, manages it, and Jorge Camps is not going to be close enough. That just leaves Peter van der Noord and Brendan McDonough as the last 2 finishers who will come to the line after this. So I think we can call it pretty much official then from that point onwards, that we can say that classified results are going to be here from Snetterton, and crucially that gap at the top of the championship is going to shrink down by 3 championship points here today. Augusto Lovisolo gets the job done, 23 minutes 14 seconds, wins by just under 2/10 ahead of Benny Simonson, with Cesar Best picking up the final spot on the podium in 3rd. It's then Jose Luis Maya who couldn't quite find himself to the podium. An aggressive drive, but one that did not profiteer in 4th position as Adam Miles finishes 5th and Sam Devontier gets 6th place overall. It's then Neil Gardner, who was a little bit off the pace in 7th, but again finding that consistent form, which makes him a threat in the championship. Yannick Morale is 8th with Jesus Cabal in 9th, and Marcos Fernandez holding off that slew Craig to 10th place.
Also off that 10th place for these drivers, Roberto Otero, who finished in 11th. Peter Suapanki will be 12th with John Pettick, up 4 places to 13th. And 5 places up for Nathan Verney in 14th. Then Rafael Rogers, we saw it just at the end there. He finishes in 15th position. Andy Balchin will take 16th with Chris Bassett in 17th. And then it's Jose Pina in 18th. Mai Hiratari will take 19th. Jorge Camps will be 20th and just 3 drivers left, with Peter van der Noord, who finishes in 21st, and Brendan McDonough in 22nd after that first lap incident. Joachim Osbeck took an early retirement in 23rd to finish it. Just goes to show the drivers at the end, just unfortunate how they were.
Yeah, there was a little bit of unfortunates there at the back of the field. Not much you can do, but what we can say is that we do have drivers here looking to have a chat with us, and we always like having a chat with Benny Simonson when he's around, and he's here with us right now. Benny, not much that you could do today about that race victory. Lovasolo just pretty much put you in a tough position where there wasn't much you could do going along the Bentley Straight.
No, there wasn't much. The Italian stallion had too much for me, so his engine was tuned up down the back straight. So no, quite happy with second, to be fair. There was not much to defend there really. So it was just trying to cover off from behind as well. So yeah, all good.
Well, for you, it's a case of championship leader coming into today. It's a case of looking to defend those points, and again, for the 3rd time this season, you are in 2nd position. You've not finished outside of the top 2 at any race you've started this season. For you, having that level of consistency and that affinity here with this Skip Barber, that's what giving you a lot of joy when it comes to this series and the way you're racing right now.
Yeah, it's just good racing, to be fair. It's everybody in top 10 can win on any given day, really, depending on what track and draft and so on. But end of the day, the car just makes good racing, and yeah, that's really what's enjoyable about it.
Well, you're having a really enjoyable time of things. It's going to be a little bit more hilly when it comes to next week's racing from here at Snetterton. We're going to Sonoma, which is, I believe, the most chalk and cheese you can find out there in terms of the racing service. So for you, Benny, how does Sonoma look as a challenge as you look to continue to hold your championship lead?
Sonoma is probably one of my top 3 favorite tracks. I'm normally pretty strong there, so probably the track I look most forward to in this season. So should be a good one, I think.
So confidence is booned there for you. Benny Simonson joining us, picking up a 2nd place finish here today from Snetterton and getting a wonderful result out there from this one. But the curtain will now close here for us here in the Skip Barber Race Series from Racing Action here at Snetterton. I want to thank the entire team who has brought this show over together from you, from Craig King, from Christian Deploy, from Dougie Beard. This is a Genesis Extreme production here on the Global SimRacing Channel. You can catch all of what makes sim racing amazing with us at GSRC, with what comes up on the horizon, because we've got 2 great races coming along today. We've got, of course, the Majors 500, which will be coming along from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You can catch that one at just gone 3:45. And then, of course, the Classic Lotus Grand Prix Series, which will be going along from Long Beach, which is going to also be a whole heap of fun. The Porsche's Owners Club are going to be out there and battling over at Suzuka. But then, of course, you've got the final round of the Sim Racing Republic, which will be a huge battleground to keep in mind. They will have their final round at Interlagos, one of the great places to go and have racing. But in terms of when we're next with you, we did just allude to it earlier, we will be at Sonoma for the full strength layout of this track. We're going to be really looking forward to the racing action that we've got coming along from this circuit. And if you haven't seen Sonoma or Infineon or Sears Point or however you know it by, this is a great track for great racing, and you want to tune in with us in 7 days' time for that. But as far as things go today. It's about patience when it comes to a championship race like this. Every race is about timing it to the letter of the limit that you have to deal with. And Augusto Lovisolo, who has been unable to time it right for 6 rounds of the championship, round 7 finally gets his number. It takes an open paddock for the Italian stallion to go and rampage and romp around. But will it be the same when Sonoma comes to town? We'll see you in 7 days when the next great racing action of the Skip Barber Race Series continues.